Good morning. Today is Wednesday. It's the fourth day of Nisan. And we continue in chapter 38 in the Tanya. The Alter Rebbe is talking about the difference between the davening, doing the mitzvahs with action, and doing it not just with action, but doing it with Kavanah, with a proper intent, with a proper concentration in davening and in the mitzvahs. And he explained that although we explained earlier about the importance of the actual mitzvahs, that the mitzvahs of action literally bring down godliness and purify this world, which is the purpose of the creation of the world in the first place. That God desired to have a home and to dwell in the home in this low world. And how it's done is by mitzvahs of action. But yet, at the same time, there's a focus, there's the importance of having done the mitzvahs with kavanah, with the proper intention, with the proper concentration, the davening. And it's not the same when you do it without kavanah, because mitzvah is b'lei kavanah, kaguf b'lei neshama. When you do mitzvah without intention, without a kavanah, is like a body without a soul. We explain this. The Alter Rebbe went on to explain the difference. Now, there is the two types of concealment of godliness in this world. There is the concealment of the countenance of God, meaning that everything in this world, from any of the four categories of inanimate objects, or vegetations, or the animals, or humans, they're all part of godliness concealed, meaning you don't see godliness. And that is something that is equally the case by all of them. Every creature. Everything is, the godliness in them is concealed. You don't see the godliness. That is the concealment of the godliness. But when it comes to the actual revelation, meaning quantitatively, the how much godliness you have in each creature, there is a major difference between different creatures. In a rock, there is not the same godliness that you see than what you see in a tree. The life is a very reduced amount of light. And again, it's not about the revelation of godliness, because the godly Hashem is concealed in every creature. But the amount of reduction, the amount of concentration, contraction and expansion, there is a difference between the different categories in this world. So let's look inside, as the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain this point. Says the Alter Rebbe, Ki baguf agashmi ve'adoim mamish ke'avonim ve'ofer, because in the physical body of a living creature and in the absolutely inanimate being, such as stones and earth, and then there is no life of spirituality apparent. Why? Since they lack even the power of growth. So there, the ray of the divine creative power is in a state of unparalleled contraction. In a way, you can compare it to when you have the sun shining. There's two ways of concealing. or reducing the light of the sun. You can put up a curtain, but it's still there is a light beyond the curtain. And but the light behind the curtain is a different type of light, a different quality of light. That's one type of concealment. There's another type of concealment that if you take and you put a wall, and in the wall you put a small window, and the light of the sun comes through the small window. And the smaller the window is, the less light you have. So this is, we're talking about the contraction in the quantity of the light. So there is differences between the different types of creatures. The body, in the physical body of an inanimate object, it's a very big contraction, a very, very reduced amount of light. Says the Alter Rebbe, "V'achayis sheboi mu'etes kol kach ad she'ein bo yafilu koyach hatzemeach." So minute is the life force within the inanimate beings that they lack even the power of growth. They don't grow. A rock is a rock. You put it in a rock, and then that's it. It stays. Ubetzemeach ha'ore eino betzimtzum godel kol kach. But in vegetations, the ray is not so greatly contracted. And that's why, because it's not so contracted, you have the ability of growing. B'derech klal, says the Alter Rebbe, in general, nechlokes le'arba madreges. In general speaking, they are divided into 4 categories. Doimem tzemeach chai medaber, the mineral, vegetable, animal, and man. Medaber means the speaker. But this is in general. A general differentiation. If you go into more details, even in an inanimate object, there's also endless of of differences between one rock and another. There's all types of rocks. There's flintstones. There's diamonds. That each rock has different qualities, and all kinds of vegetations. Each one has a different amount of light from Hashem, the energy that comes in a different form of contraction. But in general, they are divided into these 4 categories. And that says the Alter Rebbe, according to Kabbalah, these 4 categories correspond to the 4 letters of the name of Hashem. Keneged Daled Oisius Shem Avaye Baruch Hu Shememenu Mushpoim. They correspond to the 4 letters of the divine name, the Tetragrammaton, and from which they are derived. Each of these 4 categories receive its vitality from one of the 4 letters. So basically, the Yud is the source of the Medaber, the humans. The Hey, the first Hey, is with the Chai, with the animal. The Vav is connected with the Tzemeach, with the growth. And the last Hey is the source of all the inanimate objects. Now says the Alter Rebbe, "K'moi she'ein erech v'dimyon ha'ore v'amshoch ha'sachayis shebedoimim tzemeach ha'ore v'amshoch ha'sachayis amonobeshes b'chai medaber." Just like you cannot compare they cannot compare the illumination and the flow of vitality that is found in the minerals and vegetables. You cannot compare this flow that in these categories to the light and the illumination and the flow of vitality that is clothed into the chai, to the animals, and to medaber, to the human. It's a different, you cannot compare the type of light. Although in all 4 categories, the divine animating light is the same in terms of concealment of countenance, meaning in all 4 categories, the aspect of the divine light is concealed. They're concealed equally. You don't see God in none of them. There's a gag order. Godliness cannot be revealed. Our job is to find it. And it is clothed in one garment, and that is the garment of the veil of Klippas Noiga, the shell of Noiga, the neutral shell that conceals godliness, but has the ability to be revealed through doing the mitzvah, or it has the ability to fall even lower through, God forbid, doing against the will of God. So the same thing says the Alter Rebbe, Kach ein erech v'dimyen klal bein ha'oros v'hamshochas oirein soif baruch hu. Similarly, there is no comparison or likeness between the illumination that flows from the blessed Ein Sof, shu pnimius retzoino yisborech bli esteponim levush klal. You cannot compare the light, the flow of light of Hashem, that is comes from the inner Ratzain, the inner will, the inner aspect of will of Hashem, without any concealment of the countenance of Hashem, without any garments whatsoever. Where do you find this light? Says the Alter Rebbe, that light, that revealed light, is a me'ira u'menobeshes mitzvos ma'asiyos mamesh. This is clothed. It is shine, illuminates, and clothed in the actual mitzvahs, the mitzvahs that consist action. V'chein b'mitzvahs atluyas b'dibu u'bituis v'sayim b'li kavanah. And similarly, this light that is found in the mitzvahs, that you do it by speaking, by moving your lips, like the mitzvahs of prayer, the mitzvahs of saying the Shema, the mitzvah of doing studying Torah. You do it with your lips. But when you do it with your lips, b'li kavanah, without any kavanah, moving the lips is actually considered action. But you cannot compare the light that shines in the revealed light that shines and clothed in the actual mitzvahs without kavanah. Cannot be compared to the light that shines when you do it with kavanah. The light that shines in the kavanah, in the intent, in the concentration, in understanding and appreciating what you do. Says Alter Rebbe, "Legabe ha'oros v'hamshochas oirein soif baruch hu, hameira u'menobeshes bekavonas hamitzvos." The illumination of the Ein Sof found in these mitzvahs bear no likeness or comparison with the superior illumination and flow of blessed Ein Sof, radiating and clothed in the kavanah of the mitzvah of action. She'odam miskaven ba'asiyosom kedei ledovka ba'yizborech al yidei kiyum retzoinai shehu u'retzoinai echad. Because when a man has intention to attach himself to Hashem by fulfilling his will, as expressed in the mitzvahs, the will of Hashem is doing the mitzvahs. But when you have the intention, what is the kavanah? What is the concentration? What are you thinking about? You're not thinking about malachim, you're not thinking about all kinds of mystical things. You're thinking the kavanah, you're talking about having in mind to connect to Hashem with this mitzvah. Because the mitzvah is fulfilling the will of Hashem, which Hashem and His will are one. Shehu u'retzainei echad, since He and His will are one. The same thing is also v'chein bekavonas atfilo ki yashma bichoseo sha'abrachos. Similarly, with regard to kavanah in prayer, the kavanah when you pray, you have the proper intention, the proper concentration, and the same thing is also Kriya Shema when you recite the Shema, when you say the blessing before the Shema and after the Shema, brachas, and all other blessings that you say when you eat an apple. when you put on tefillin, all brachas that you say, shekap b'kavanasei behem, that when one has kavanah, the proper concentration, medabek machshavtoi v'sichlei bo yizbarech, he attaches his thoughts and intellect to Hashem. So this is, Alter Rebbe goes on to explain this, and he will continue to explain tomorrow as well further. The importance of the Kavanah, that the Kavanah brings out the whole mitzvah. It shouldn't be just the body of the mitzvah, but it should be also a deeper connection between the neshama, the soul of the person, with Hashem. Last night we mentioned that this was the yortzeit of our uncle, Rabbi Mordechai Gurari. Last night they had an event in Crown Heights, and my brother-in-law, Rabbi Asher Brunstein, he spoke about his experience that was once that we went to South Africa together, and they put them together in the same room, and he saw how he was saying the brachas in the morning prayer. We open up the prayer and we say the brachas, thanking Hashem, Baruch Atah Hashem, thank you for bringing the light, and thank you for giving us clothes, and each bracha said with such kavanah, with intent. This is something to learn from. Now the mitzvahs, when you do the mitzvah with kavanah, it has a whole different effect on the person. So thank you so much for joining today. Once again, make sure to share this, subscribe and hit notification, and share it with friends. Any questions? We can take questions now.